Good day to everyone. My name is Daniel Hayes, and I'm very pleased to be sitting here with Roser Casas-Mulet and Matteo Redana. And Matteo and I are part of the ECoENet committee, so the Early Careers in Ecohydraulics Research Network. And today we are really pleased to be sitting here with Roser, who is the founder of the network. And we are happy to ask her some questions about the ECoENet spirit. So, Jose, may I just ask you to maybe introduce yourself and tell us a bit about your background and why you have been pursuing a career in academia?
Thanks for the invite, Daniel and Matteo. Well, first of all, not the founder, one of the founders, and we'll talk about it later. And yeah, I'll be happy to give you a bit of background on my career. So I'm by training a forestry engineer, sorry. And since the very start, I was very interested in water management, and so I always directed the studies into this direction. So I always took projects on that direction. And then I did a master specialized on water resources management. I worked for a few years in consultancy, in industry and public administration as well. And then there was a bit of a still curiosity for research. So I decided to take on a PhD, and my PhD was on the environmental effects of hydropeaking, a form of hydropower in rivers. And that's where my education background is coming from. Since then, I've worked in both very much ecology departments and also engineering departments. So I have experience in both areas, and I've been just like swapping almost like for the past 5-6 years between these two departmental research areas. And I would say this at the core of the ecohydraulics law, combining ecology and hydraulic engineering. And I'm currently at the hydraulic engineering department as a senior researcher. So that's who I am and where I am now.
Okay, maybe I just jump in now.
Mm-hmm.
And so I would ask you, what are your current research interests? What topic are you working in? And I mean, more in general, how do they fit the ecohydraulics domain?
So I think that the story comes, you usually think that when you're doing a PhD, you will almost like continue in this research area in this specific research topic for a long time. And I think it's also not only depends on you, it depends on how the opportunities come across. So when I finished my PhD, I got a postdoc in Australia. And there was not a lot of opportunities to work in hydropeaking research there. So I kind of explored other areas, and I got really, really interested, which was already part of my interest, on stream temperatures. And I refocus my efforts into the concept of stream thermal refuge for aquatic organisms. And I started working with drones and thermal imagery. And that's, I would say, this is kind of like the core of my current research. Still, I returned to Europe and I kind of like pick up a bit of the hydropeaking. So I'm just trying to merge both of these research topics into one, because I think there's a lot of relationships. But it was more into more managerial part of the hydropower to more basic research questions. And I would say still at the heart, there's the interactions between ecological and physical processes in rivers. And I think that's at the core of ecohydraulics. So I would say I have kept the ecohydraulics side of things with specific different topics. So it depends on at what level you're looking at. I kept in ecohydraulics, obviously, with of different topics, but that's also not depending on one person specifically. So you cannot say I'm going to research on it for all my life, because there's always, as you know, opportunities that come, projects that come, and people you can collaborate with that can also influence what you're going to be doing.
And
So-
like in the sense that compared to other scientific fields, the ecohydraulics field is quite a new field, as you said, and merging of the ecology with the hydraulics and the engineering part and stuff like that. So how was that like in your development, going from PhD student to early postdoc, kind of like stepping and getting connected to the community or so? How was that for you? What were the challenges associated with that at that time?
So Daniel, as you say, yeah, ecohydraulics is a relatively recent field of research. It's emerging and it's interdisciplinary because at heart it's combining two core disciplines, which would be aquatic ecology and hydraulic engineering or geomorphology or others like this. And I think that's the big challenge because at the moment, and still happens, university departments, academic departments, and research councils are organized by disciplinary, very strict disciplinary structures, right? So, and that's reflected across the whole organization and the whole system. So I think everyone talks about how important it is, and I think to be interdisciplinary, to combine, to collaborate, and I think that's where you see the opportunity, and that's what gets, at least what got me really, or gets me still very excited about this field of research. It's new. There's been a few papers on how we still have to set up our basic research principles and theories, because we kind of borrowing from different disciplines. This is an opportunity, but the challenge is that the current system is still very strict. And when you want to apply, when you want to collaborate, it's always within a specific field of research. So sometimes you don't know where you fit. So you can talk to everyone, that's the advantage, but the disadvantage is that sometimes you don't know where your home is. And I would say this is the major challenge, but obviously you can convert any challenge into an opportunity, and I think that's great, and that's what I think. There is a growing community, and I think that's what you find when you speak to colleagues working on ecohydraulics. This is a challenge that they are also facing, and this is a challenge that you want to tackle together and make it into an opportunity.
Yeah, so I think it's very interesting that you just mentioned all this peculiarity of the ecohydraulics. So being particularly multidisciplinary, must be in touch with different people. So actually, I would jump in a bit more in detail about the ECoENet specifically. Maybe asking how this multidisciplinarity, the network that you created, played a role into shaping eventually the idea of ECoENet. And if you can tell us, what were the first steps, how long you've been inside? Yeah, thanks.
Okay, so I'll tell you the story of ECoENet here. So, and it links very well with your question, right? So, I think it was 2014 in the International Symposium of Ecohydraulics in Trondheim, and that's where I did my PhD. And my PhD was very, I would say, representative of ecohydraulics. Was I was looking at the physical and ecological interactions in a context of hydropeaking. And the organizers, I can actually tell his name, Atle Harvey, which is a hardcore ecohydraulics person, asked me if I could give a talk for early careers on what ecohydraulics was. And I gave a plenary on ecohydraulics from a perspective of early careers. And I think at the heart of it was this kind of like there's the eco and there's the hydraulics. And there's also the challenges that early careers are facing, right? That you are really entering in this new community where you see these two basic fields or classic fields, and you somehow need to navigate the system. And you're looking for support, you're looking for mentoring. And after my talk, we started talking with a few other early careers, and we, among them, I think that there was Davide Banzo. There was also Martin Wilkes, and there was also Marie-Pierre Goselin as well. And we started talking and discussed the idea. So we decided that we were gonna, since I think it was a good conference, there was a lot of early careers. I think this talk also generated a lot of conversation. So it was like a conversation starter. And what we did was to put a piece of paper on the outside the plenary room and ask people if they would like to join some sort of email list, collaboration. So we got some people who sign up, and then it was like, okay, what are we going to do with this piece of paper now? We have to do something. So also Michael Puffer as well was there, and we started to basically started to organize something. But obviously people get very busy. People are just okay, what are we going to do? So the next thing is, it's very hard to do things on a daily basis if you don't have something pressing. And the conference is every 2 years. So what we aimed was at doing something for the next conference, which was 2016 in Melbourne. And I think by that time it was Martin Wilkes, Davide, Anna, and myself, Anna Adeva, who had basically created this core group to organize this first workshop of ECoENet. And it was free. We basically had a lot of support from the organizers of the conference. I was also working in Melbourne University, so I was almost following the conference along my career, and that helped a lot. But I have to say, I think the ecohydraulics community supported this idea of the early careers, and I think they also saw it as an opportunity to make what else. Or the young ones are the ones who need to continue. So if you don't support it, the community is going to die. So I think it also makes a lot of sense. So we organized this workshop, and then we had John Nestler. I think he's now retired as a keynote speaker, and he gave us a very nice keynote about the principles or the foundations, the fundamentals or research questions in ecohydraulics. And his background is engineering, but he was also very much talking about the ecological processes, and he's got a very nice paper on that. And I think that was almost very inspiring. And then we basically just started to ask questions as what are challenges, what are the opportunities, how do you feel? There was maybe 20 people who came to that workshop. And from that, we wrote our first paper on ECoENet. And that's where we set up the principles. What do we want to do? Who we are? And we even got a logo. So I think that started something. And from then on, in every conference, the organizers already know that ECoENet is going to be there doing something. And I think one of the key things was presence and outreach. And it's really hard to keep going, and especially with the COVID, it's been a bit more challenging. But I think that was the main objective, to make sure that there's someone in the conference that will welcome new people who come to conferences. Because I think it's hard enough when you are a PhD student to go to a new conference, but if it's an interdisciplinary conference and you just need to navigate between these topics, you will get lost. So the aim was to say, we will be here, and the idea is to create an icebreaker. So basically the day before the conference or 2 days before the conference, we basically meet in a pub or in a bar or in a coffee shop, and we just have a chat. We organize some kind of workshop or gathering where we discuss things. We do perhaps, hands-on workshops, something. And everyone needs to decide what's best, depending on the country, depending on the conference, etc. But the idea is this, to basically create a network that supports and welcome newcomers to ecohydraulics, and that this is a self-sustaining network, that it can be continued. So people find it interesting to say, actually, would like to contribute to that. And that's how the concept evolved. And I think it's like anything, you just have to adapt to whatever is coming and whoever comes to the conference. Yeah. Have I answered the question? I think it was quite long.
Yeah, absolutely. It was very nice to hear the story from the beginning.
Yeah.
Yes. I never heard it actually. So
Okay.
it was very
So
nice,
here you are,
yes.
the story.
And so, like, you were involved, and in the end, a few years into with ECoENet before you then handed it over to the next generation. Now you said you're a senior postdoc, so you've stuck around in academia for a while, did a lot of ecohydraulics research. I remember when I started my PhD, I also did a lot with hydropicking. So my colleague and I were sitting together, like, look at this paper from Jose and this one, and look,
Okay.
and we were really digging into that. So, but basically, what kind of like in your transition or in your walk through academia, in a sense, to getting to where you are, what role did ECoENet play for you personally? Like, what benefit was it for you to being involved in the network?
I think it gave me a voice, I would say, in the ecohydraulics community, and I have to say that was probably not entirely up to me. So I was lucky that I was asked to do this presentation in Trondheim, and I think that was kind of like the start of it. I think, as anything, there's advantages and disadvantages, right? Because we've discussed many times with Davide and also I know, like, how much time you spend on this. And you guys, if you're now in the network, you know that it takes a lot of time to get anything done. It's a lot of effort. We're preparing the workshops for the conferences was a lot of effort. Writing papers that, okay, we think it's important, but perhaps it's not a paper that has a wide interest. You know, if you look at the papers, actually, we've written 2 papers on this, one collaborating as well with more with senior researchers on the directions and more a conceptual thing. That was in 2018. We took this after the conference in Tokyo, and I think it gives you a voice, but obviously, as anything in your career in academia, you have to balance how much effort do I put in this, and I think it's been a good thing as well in the AHR community as well. Is a good structure to be heard and to say, well, I am here to promote yourself a bit, but on the other hand, running the network takes a lot of your time that you could perhaps be applying for a grant, writing another paper, and you wonder sometimes what's better. And I don't know. I don't have the answer. I just know that there's advantages, which is basically you get more direct access perhaps to people who you have a reason to talk to them, because, hey, look, I'm in this network, we're trying to do this, would you like to contribute, would you like to collaborate? And I have to say 100% of the times people say yes. And I'm talking about very busy senior researchers, but you basically establish yourself as the early careers in this community, and the community is not that big. So if you go and say, we are from this community and we're the early careers, people will take you seriously. It's not like I'm this person and I have this interest. It's like, actually, no, we have a network, we're trying to do things. People are seeing this, people who are close to it. It's not, as I said, it's not a broad scope. It's not, wow, this paper is cited many times. No, it's just something. But people know that you have a voice, that you have the capacity to organize things. And I think that's also, like, this is a network or a way to show that you are capable to work in a team, to organize things, to get things done. And I think those are these what you call these horizontal skills, right? That are also very important in research. That no one says that you need them, but actually, if you want to navigate, and not only in academia, life, you need this type of skills. And I think this is also very important. And being part of a network, being part of a club, of a team, actually help you with this. And I think this is not something that you can quantify as I got 10 points for that, or 5 or 7 or 100, you don't know. But you also need to want to do it. And you need to feel like, okay, that's something that I enjoy doing it as well. But at the same time, some people might say, well, I might as well just spend this time writing a grant and get it and get the money, because we all know how uncertain is the academic world, right? Until you get a fixed position, and it's very hard. It's a tough game. So I sometimes laugh, joke with myself saying, well, I have not been very strategic in my career, you know, like I've done things that I've liked, I've enjoyed it, but perhaps I would have been better to spend some more time instead of this, doing this other thing, and I would have been in a better position now. But who knows? So it's not 100% release. Join ECoENet because you're gonna get these, and this. That's not certain. But at the same time, I would absolutely strongly recommend it. I think it's been a very good experience, and the connections that you get with people that are like-minded, it would have not been possible if you had this kind of this structure or this network. So from my from a personal point of view, I would definitely recommend it.
Yeah, I think it's like a lot of this community building, right? You're investing, building relationships, and in a sense, maybe that's also what kind of inspired me to get on board. I'm like, okay, I want to connect, I want to build relationships, meet people, also help people. I mean, there may be people in the network over the years that we have benefited towards a job. I mean, if I'm just looking at the job posts we are forwarding on social media, I mean, we have maybe 2 job opportunities, PhDs, but also many postdoc positions coming in. So I think in that sense, kind of like,
and
by
if you
doing
notice,
community building, exactly, we are kind of helping other people we might even not know who got the job, but got the news through the network. And I think that's something very encouraging in a sense.
I think that you made a good point here, because if you notice, actually, the senior people who have positions usually, and are related, they usually email us to say, can you forward this? And that's already, you know that you are kind of a reference point in that sense. And I think that's good. You're doing a service to the community, but it's kind of, it's good, you know, people will come to talk to you. You're going to be the central point, and I think that's also good, having information. And I think you guys have done also a very good job in keeping the Twitter and keeping the social media ongoing, because it's actually key. So you have presence, you have visibility, so people know. I think everyone in the who have been involved somehow in the ecohydraulics community know about ECoENet, and I think that's definitely a win in that sense. I would say, maybe you have not asked me directly, but I would say, now that you've mentioned that, like how to get a community building, I think that the key challenge with the ECoENet, usually if you compare it with other networks, the other networks have a specific topic, and ECoENet, the disadvantage is that perhaps what we have most in common is this horizontal skills or development, right? Because you might be in the network with someone who is interested in macroinvertebrates, someone who's just interested in fish, and someone who's interested in hydraulic engineering. They would also be interested in other parts, but the core is still going to be maybe another one that yours. So the bonding at the topic level might be a bit difficult, but I think it's like these challenges that you face as early careers is what really bonds you. So I think that's what differentiates a bit ECoENet from other early career networks, I would say, that are more, okay, we are on this specific topic and we talk macroinvertebrates, or we talk statistics, or we talk whatever. So that's perhaps a challenge, but also an opportunity to focus on other things that you can have in common.
Yeah, I think I mean, I'm very happy with this very nice conversation we just had so far. And I would say, actually, we can a bit to skip the last question that we already very well covered in your last answer.
Okay.
And yeah, I mean, we will really thank you, Roser, for your time given us
You're more than
today.
welcome.
Yeah, it was very nice to have you here with us, hearing the story of ECoENet, how it born. I mean, what was the relevance for you personally, but as well what is relevance now more in general. as a network, And yeah, I think that's it, Daniel.
That's great. Yeah.